Luxury Staffing, the podcast by Morgan and Mallet.
Hello there, podcast listeners. In today's episode of the Morgan and Mallet Luxury Staffing podcast, we've got a very special guest. It took me weeks to get hold of him because he's always so busy. We've got Jonathan Vanderbilt from the New York office, and he's going to be giving us loads of insights into the US market at the moment. So welcome to the podcast, Jonathan, and how are you doing?
Thank you, Ben. I'm doing great. I have to correct you on my name. It's Jonathan D. Vanderbilt, no relation to the Vanderbilt family. Let's start off with that first off. And I'm doing great. It's Friday here and the weather is great. I'm in New York. I'm stationed in New York. So yeah, I'm just glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Super. And so, Jonathan, I'm going off script already. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. There's two things. The first one is on your LinkedIn profile, there's lots of acronyms. These are qualifications, aren't they? Is that right?
Yes.
Tell me about those, please.
Yes. ELAC is the Employment Law Accreditation, which is a certificate that allows you to understand and know the employment laws. The ASC is the American Staffing Certificate, which it's a league. It's called the American Staffing Association. And that just means that I am registered as a certified staffing professional.
Okay, thank you. Yes, because when I was writing content and I came across that, I was like, oh, I should have put this in all the other parts when I was mentioning Jonathan. But anyway, it's hindsight.
It's fine.
Go on, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say the abbreviations are also explained in the subject area in LinkedIn. So if anyone has doubts or questions, it's also spelled out and explained in my bio.
Super. I need to slow down on LinkedIn. I'm just blasting through it. So the other thing I wanted to ask you was, what were you doing before you were working for Morgan and Mallet, and how has it been? Like, what attracted you to work with Morgan and Mallet?
Okay. My staffing experience expands over 40 years. Before I joined Morgan and Mallet, I was doing legal staffing or legal placements, light industrial and office supports. I was with an agency for about 27 years, a lot of time, right? A lot of growing within the organization. And when I left, I came across Morgan and Mallet. It was an interesting field, one that I haven't done as far as household staffing. So that appealed to me because it was a new industry, right? And I always like growing and learning and all that. So I applied. And here I am. So 2 years later with Morgan and Mallet, I've learned the industry, and I think I'm thriving in it. If I can be so bold to say, it's very busy.
You can definitely say that. Honestly, Morgan keeps saying like Jonathan's really busy, and it's been like this for months. Yeah, because I've been trying to get this interview from
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, it's been so. I mean, it's great. Busy is great, right? Exactly, I never complain when it's busy. I complain when it's slow because there's no money filtering. There's no placements made. So the busier, the better for me and my team, anyway.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Okay, so let's jump into it. My first question is, what defines the New York household staffing market compared with Europe? Is it faster? Is it more? I know salaries are higher for a start.
Yes. What defines the household staffing here in New York rather than Europe? I haven't worked in Europe specifically. I'm, like I said, based in New York, so I oversee the U.S. market. So here, the pace seems faster. They like to interview candidates quicker. Also, in-person interviews are a big thing. This morning, I was actually setting up 3 in-person interviews for this weekend. So when they call, they do have the need, and it's always a faster response, meaning can we start interviewing right away? So our process, of course, I have to slow them down and explain our process, where, there's steps before we submit candidates, in other words. So they need to understand that. And that process can be another podcast, specifically detailed towards the Morgan Mallet way, our process, and how do we service these upper high net worth clients.
Yeah, interesting. And I've heard Morgan say before that it's a little bit more common than in Europe for the principal to want to meet the staff, to meet the people they're interviewing with, and rather than, say, the PA or the house manager or the estate manager. Do you find that's the case, that the principal's on a lot of the interviews?
Well, here in the US, we deal with family offices. So more of the family assistants will want to pre-screen candidates first.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been coming up, against. So the process, they want it faster, but there's more steps involved. So it would make sense that they want to see people right away because there's extra steps, meaning the family office has to interview them, then the estate manager or the chief of staff. If that works well, then the house manager, and then they go on to meet the principal. I guess based on what you said, in Europe, it's more direct,
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, I remember Morgan saying that he was surprised once or twice that the principal in the US was actually ringing up and actually just wanting people really, really fast. Just confirming what you're saying about the speed. The other question I wanted to ask, Jonathan, was, you said that it goes through all these filters, like the family assistant will do an interview, maybe the estate manager, then the house manager. Are you involved at each step, coordinating this and moving it along?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. Every step of the way, and confirming the interviews. That's why I've been busy, right? For the last couple of weeks, you've been trying to. So they call us as the full service staffing agency.
Yeah.
So we oversee and handle everything. They don't really speak with the candidate directly at first,
Right.
because we are here to assist on that part, on that level.
I see. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So it takes a lot of coordination. And do you find yourself pushing the project, sort of like chasing people and like, hey, I've got this butler here for you. I've got this housekeeper. Can we organize an interview? Are you pushing it like that?
Yes. Our database is so vast that we do have a lot of qualified candidates. So it's just a matter of finding the right person with the right experience that is available, that is looking for work now, because a lot of them have found other jobs. They're not going to sit around for me to call a month later. So we go through our database. We have a lot of active candidates, qualified candidates. So once we identify them, yes, we work through explaining the job description. There's a lot of screening on our part as recruiters, right? So we interview them, we do the video chat, we send them assessment tests, anything that will expedite that whole recruiting phase. Once that is complete, then we introduce that candidate to either the family office or the family assistant or the estate manager, whoever is in charge of that first interview. And every family is different because obviously the level is different, right? The more money you have, the more people, assistants you have as well. If they have 5 estates, there's certainly a family office that oversees the entire staff for the 5 estates internationally. So you just have to work around time. And that's another issue, mainly because you never know where they are. So, for example, I might have a client that has an estate in, say, California, in Beverly Hills, but guess what? Next week, they're in London. Next month, they're in France. So I have to adjust my time to fit their schedule because we
Right.
are servicing them. So it's a matter of that.
Are you usually just emailing them or picking up the phone?
Well, we always start with a phone call, of course.
Yeah.
Once the initial request, the lead, as we call it, once we get the staff request, there's the initial phone call. We speak with whoever is interviewing first, right? We get all the job details, description, salary, schedule, everything that we need to expedite and find qualified candidates. Once all that is complete, then we do a presentation. Everything is explained and it's in writing, our terms and conditions, our fees, our process, all that. Once that is signed and authorized, meaning, okay, we're good to go, we want to work with you, great. At that point, we then start recruiting, screening, and submitting candidates.
Right. But when you're chasing, like you said, the estate manager might be one week in Beverly Hills, the next week in London. At that stage, are you just picking up the call or are you emailing? How do you chase it
Both.
down? Both.
Both.
Gotcha. Okay.
Both. They might say, email me their resume, I'll be away for a week, or they'll call or they'll want me to reach out. Who else do you have? Can you please tell me additional information on this candidate?
Mm,
For example, why are they leaving their last job?
yeah.
What is going on? Why
Yeah.
haven't they worked in the last year? So things that they don't see in the resume, all those details
Yes.
that we as recruiters have to sort of like feed,
Yeah.
like pull out from the candidates
Fill in the
to
gaps.
right to better then introduce them to the client.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So the client has the full good and right picture.
Right. Exactly.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And just moving on to the next question, how do US employment laws shape pay structures and working conditions?
There's a law for everything here in the U.S. Employment laws in the United States are a lot, right? The structure, the process, unemployment laws as well, that comes to play as well. It's very different than, say, Dubai. Dubai, they're more liberated, they're more flexible with laws and regulations. Here in the US, everything has to be by the books, so to
Yes.
speak.
Yes.
Otherwise, the agency would get fined or penalized or even
Yeah.
shut down
Sued.
at some level,
Yeah.
depending on what the issues are. So yes, U.S. employment laws, they do shape and play a major part in the hiring, employment, staffing arena.
Yeah, yeah. And both Morgan and Lorene have mentioned before, like when they started in the US, there was I think it might have even been yourself, but there were like American colleagues saying, "Whoa, you can't do that. That's not
Right.
allowed." But in
Right.
France or in the UK, it was perfectly acceptable to do that. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
I think
A
it's
big issue is with discrimination, meaning you can discriminate someone by age, race, religion, gender. So all that needed to be taken out from our database when someone applied, because in some other areas, you're allowed to ask the
yeah,
age, but here in the US, you can't. So yes, it becomes more structured. It's more work, in other words, because you have to think about like, oh, I can't ask this. Oh my gosh, I can't ask that. So it's more work in the sense of you have to be on your toes more because of the laws. You have to be careful what you ask
yes.
and how you come across and how, because anything can turn into a lawsuit.
Yes, yeah. Eric Rios, I think he works with you in the
Yes.
US office. He said exactly the same. He was just like, it's so litigious.
Right.
It's
Yes.
so easy to get sued.
Oh, yeah.
And next question is, are families in New York leaning more toward live out arrangements today?
In New York, I would say yes, mainly because New York is very specific, right? It's a city that either you love it or you hate it. So by having someone that lives or is a local in New York City, they would rather have someone that lives out, that knows the city, that can go back and forth like 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 9 to 7. Especially like, for example, if it's a nanny, you're entrusting that person to take your child to school. So you're in New York. It's busy. There's a lot of people that are not mentally ill, and then you have the ones that are. So you have to be a New Yorker, meaning thick-skinned, to understand that and know the city, when to take a cab and when to walk, or the subway. You have to be careful with someone's child in the subway. It's like, so I'm actually currently working with 3 clients here in New York that are current, and they're all live out. One of them said she's flexible with live in or live out. However, she would prefer a local that is a live out. So at the end of the day, yes, they prefer live out rather than a live in situation here in New York.
Do you think one of the reasons could be because property is so expensive in New York? Do you think that's one of the factors, or is it an expense that's just not on the radar, so to speak?
Well, when you have a client that has a Beverly Hills mansion that has 10 bedrooms, and then you have a New York townhouse that might have 3 bedrooms because real estate, right? The space is limited here in New York. You're not going to get a 20, well, you might, but the typical client does not have a 10-bedroom apartment. That's not heard of so much here in New York. New Jersey, yes. Long Island, yes. Outside of the city, but the city is limited with space. So when they say live out, it might be because their apartments might have 3 or 4 bedrooms, not so much having that extra staff quarters, like the West Wing, so to speak, across the field and the guest house, that is not New York. It's just not set up like that.
Right, I see. Okay, now just moving on to the next question. How important are credentials, references, and background screening in the US market?
Oh, wow. That's the number one top priority. We don't submit, or I personally make sure that all the references are checked. The background, the criminal, all that is clear. Their IDs are run through Homeland Security, and their driver's license go through the Department of Motor Vehicles to make sure their driving abstract is clear. So before they set foot in any client's home, all that needs to be clear and done and processed before anyone walks in, mainly because insurance, liability, especially, again, if it's a nanny, they're dealing with someone's child. So you have to be extra careful who you're sending to make sure this person is clear. They are who they say they are, and their experience is checked out, and the references play a major part. I speak with at least 3 or 4 of their previous employers to make sure that, yes, they were there, the dates, job responsibilities, and reason for leaving. That's all, critical.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe it's in your employment contract with Morgan & Malley that you have to do those 3 reference calls minimum. Is that right?
Yes. That's part of our terms and conditions. And when I speak with clients, I make sure they understand that that's our process, or one of our process, where we check references, background, criminal backgrounds and all that. So they're more assured, they're more at ease knowing that at least that part was handled, and we're not just sending them random, people.
Absolutely. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
When you're making these reference calls, like in the 2 years you've been doing them, have you ever had like a really interesting one or a surprising one?
Sometimes, yes, where the resumes are inflated or AI generated. So, so when I speak with them, they're like, "What? No, no, that's not what she was doing. She was only here for 2 months, and we let her go because she was just horrible." Like, so it's like, okay, thank you for that. Check. Do
Wow.
not send anywhere.
Gosh.
Yeah. Some of
Wow.
them. I mean, there's always that one rotten egg, right?
Of course.
I
Yeah.
mean, we do screen our candidates and they're
Yeah.
all qualified and reference checked. Once they're in our system and ready to go, that means they are truly ready to go, meaning that everything has checked out.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point actually, because when I started with Morgan and Malley, I was writing content, and then on one page I saw a database of 200 over 200,000 applicants. Then Lorraine said, "Oh no, it's 56,000." And then she explained, like, the ones that have gone through the process you just mentioned, those are the 56,000. But in total, there's 200,000 who've been applying for jobs, but only 25% of them, as you said, are ready to go. They've been verified, reference checked, and those are the ones ready to
Right.
go.
Right.
Yeah.
And also the ones that have been qualified are also the ones that have that private household experience. We get a lot of candidates applying, well, maybe they'll hire me. Well, it's not that. It's more if you're qualified and you have the experience. So we'll run, for example, a housekeeper, ad, and all of our clients are a private household situation, of course.
Yes.
So I might get a housekeeper that worked at the Hilton for 2 years. Well, that's great, and I'm sure you're a great worker, but for us, we need a private household, a family situation, not
Yes.
the Hilton for 2 years, because that's a whole different dynamic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Working with a private family in their home is a lot different than just a hotel where you just come and go, and it's a whole different everything, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's another thing that I learned
Yeah.
was, like, Morgan and Malley will only employ people with 3 years of proven verified experience.
Right.
Anybody else, they don't make the cut, basically.
Right. Well, yes, but we do have a hospitality division that handles hotels and staffing like that. So if, for example, they're not good for the private household, then we can keep them in mind for the hospitality and place them in a hotel or some other spot that is not a private family situation. If they're good, we try to work with them and place them elsewhere.
Yeah.
Depends on the background.
Interesting. Interesting. Now, I'm just going to go off script because we're coming towards the end, and this question is really important. I find it really interesting. But I wanted to know, Jonathan, I know you've been with Morgan Malley for about 2 years. Have you seen any trends appearing in those 2 years? Like, I remember Runette, she was saying, like, there's a lot more requests. I think it was Lorraine, sorry, said there's a lot more requests now for chefs with nutritional experience and nutritional skills compared to maybe 5-6 years ago. Have you seen any similar trends in other professions, or chef included?
Yes, in the US specifically, because that's what I oversee, we're actually getting a lot more of house manager types, house assistant types. So where before, they would hire, for example, a housekeeper, a personal assistant, an estate manager. Now they want a house assistant, a house manager to do those 3 jobs that is flexible with. They need to tidy the house. Maybe they can do food prep. If the kids are around, so maybe they can drop them off on a play date. So the job descriptions are getting very diverse. And it's not so specific that I've seen in the last 2 years when I first started. I remember when I was first, calling clients, it was always a housekeeper would it's just for a housekeeper or a chef, just to cook. So
Yeah.
now it's like even a chef, well, if they can also clean and maintain the house and cook and meal prep, it's just getting a bit more flexible.
Yeah.
Maybe
Interesting.
the economy, the market, instead of hiring 3 people, they want to hire one, maybe a little higher salary and save, financially on 3 placement fees if they needed to hire 3 people as well. So
Yeah.
everything comes to play. So as a recruiter, you just pretty much have to understand their needs and focus on what they're looking for and explain to the candidates, well, this is the situation, this is the job, you need to be flexible. In other words, if you want the job, you need to be flexible. If you don't, we can move on, and I need to find someone else that is, because
Okay.
we need to fill, we need to move to move on. But that's
Understood.
my way. All recruiters have their own way of screening candidates, but I'm a little more, to the point, a little more strict, always
Hmm.
nice and friendly, but I don't like wasting time when I know a candidate's not a fit for a specific job.
I
And
understand. Yeah.
but I will make a note. So when something else comes on, then the skill search will come up and then I can revisit that candidate. It's just right now, I'm so busy. I need to manage my time and
I
in a
understand. I
positive way.
understand. I understand completely. It's good news as well that
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
so much volume there. Now,
yes.
just going back to this house assistant, who can do a wide variety of tasks. Are they easy to find, or are they quite elusive?
No, no, no. I haven't had any problems. We do have plenty of candidates in our database already, in
Mm.
addition to running the ads. For example, last week, that client that I was referring to, we ran an ad, and I already have the 3 interviews that I was working on this morning was for that specific client.
Wow, that's really
So
fast.
yes, house assistant that can also manage their personal life. So in there, rolled up is a personal assistant,
Mm.
someone that can do meal prep, someone that can light clean, not deep clean, because deep clean is more of a housekeeper, strictly
Mm.
housekeeper. But it's an all around, jack of all trades,
Sounds like a mum or a mother.
well, or a grandmom, right? Who's like
Yeah, yeah.
always fussing with everything.
A profession, a
Yeah, yeah,
professional.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Now, we're just coming towards the end of the interview, Jonathan, and I wanted to ask you, is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't, or anything that you feel the audience, be it clients or be it candidates, you would like them to hear or to know?
Yes, yes, actually, for clients, it really would help us recruiters, staffing agencies in general, to understand your job description. A lot of them will call and say, this is my first time, which is fine. However, they're clueless when it comes to the job description, understanding how an agency operates. Some of them don't understand there's a placement fee. Well, it's a business and you're calling us for a service. So, of course, there's a placement fee. It's like insurance. You want insurance, it's not free. You have to pay for the insurance.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's the same way. So yes, so that would help us tremendously if the job descriptions were ready and they have a clear vision of what they're looking for, and then we can do minor adjustments. But starting from scratch, it's a process, and then it's the follow up, right? We submit a candidate or two, and perhaps it's not a fit because she has a different idea. I had a different idea. The candidate's not a fit. So now we have to go back and forth and waste more time and do more screening and start all over. So that part gets a bit out of control. So it needs to be managed by the recruiter. The candidate side, my suggestion or tip, if you will, is they need to have their resume in order. Some of them say, oh, the last year I've been doing part-time work. Okay, but that's not on your resume. So you need to add it on because the gaps will keep you from getting hired. Employers want to know, why did they leave? Why haven't they worked? What was this 2-year gap? What happened with them? Why didn't they work for 2 years? No. So that, in addition to applying to jobs that you are qualified for.
Yes. Yeah.
I get people applying for chef and they haven't cooked a day in their lives. Why are you doing this to me? Wasting my time. Like they can't even boil an egg and it's a chef job. So that, I'm being funny, of course, but the principle is stop applying for jobs that you don't qualify for.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
If you're an estate manager and you want to broaden and expand and apply for a different job, I understand that. But a total different job that you're not qualified for, and you submit resumes, and then we have to go through the resumes, and it's just more process for us. We don't place everyone, of course. We don't call everyone, of course. So they feel they deserve an answer. If they apply, they feel like should be a response. And I understand that. But if we get 10,000 responses from our ads, it's not realistic to respond to every single one of them when they're not even halfway qualified for the job that they're applying for in the first place. So that's what I mean, to save everyone time, apply for a job that you're qualified for, and we will call you back because we need to fill the job. We want to place you.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you very much, Jonathan. You've been an absolute star.
Oh, stop, Ben.
No, you've been really fantastic and offered
Thank you.
lots and lots of wisdom. So I do honestly, truly appreciate this. And I hope our listeners did as well. And if you want to, if you are thinking about hiring a butler, housekeeper, a chauffeur, house manager, estate manager, whatever, you can head over to householdstaff.agency, fill out the form there. And if you are in New York or in the US, you'll probably end up speaking with Jonathan, and you'll have a good introduction to him now, and you'll know how he is. It'll probably make it a bit easier. And I'm not saying it was difficult, but I'm saying you'll know his voice. It'll be straightforward. And for our candidates, you can also head over to householdstaff.agency/jobs. And you also may end up with an interview with Jonathan, and you also know a bit more about him before starting the interview.
Yeah.
And for everybody who has been listening, thank you very much. And you can get more updates if you subscribe. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, Deezer, and YouTube. So all you have to do is hit like and subscribe. And thanks again for listening. And thank you very much, Jonathan. You've been a wonderful guest.
Well, thank you, Ben. And thank you to all the listeners, and hope to speak with all of you soon.